Thank you. Would you just be able to introduce yourselves and your roles to the councillors? Thank you very much. On the Inter-Regional Marine Pest Pathway Management, preferred option and next steps. Thank you.
Kia ora, thank you. I'm Dr. Imogen Bassett. I'm the Principal Advisor in the Biosecurity team. I'm relatively recently becoming more involved in our marine biosecurity workstream to provide some environmental services leadership team support into our interregional process, and also to bring my experience in the Biosecurity Act through our regional pest management plan into this workstream now that it's working more towards a statutory plan development phase. It's been a pleasure to become involved in supporting this workstream because it is such a collaborative piece of work, both the commitment to see real consistent working together across a whole range of regions and also across council. So I have with me today Sam Happy, who's our senior marine biosecurity advisor in our environmental services for operations, but also working closely operations and planning. So we've got Setsi Boomer from Natural Environment Strategy, who I'm going to hand over to give you a really brief overview of what we're here for today, which is really just a very short procedural item. Thanks.
Tēnā koutou katoa, ko Setsi Boomer taku ingoa. Thanks for the opportunity to speak to this item. This initiative has been presented to the Environment and Community Committee several times before in the previous term, so we tried to keep the presentations pretty short. So Auckland Council joined the Top of the North Marine Biosecurity Partnership back in 2016. This group comprises the 4 northern councils here on the screen: Northland, Waikato, Auckland and Bay of Plenty, and is supported by Department of Conservation and Ministry of Primary Industries. The purpose of the group is to increase collaboration and consistency between partners that have a statutory responsibility to manage marine pests. As part of a broader operational framework, this group explored the possibility of developing an interregional marine pest pathway management plan. And Auckland Council has been supporting this initiative because it aligns with Auckland's proposed RPMP, also with Auckland's Council Marine Biosecurity Programme funded by the Natural Environment Act at RAID, and it's also in line with Auckland Council's response to Sea Change, the Marine Spatial Plan for the Hauraki Gulf. We have one more slide, but so this is the slide that shows the process to date. So in the left box is a bit of a background. So the initiative we got approval for the initiatives through the Upper North Island Strategic Alliance back in 2017. So then the Top of the North Collaborative Working Group developed options for managing marine pests through pathway management, which resulted in the discussion document. The discussion document was approved by the 4 northern regional councils, including Auckland Council, back in February 2019. And then there was informal consultation on the options in that document in March to May 2019. The results of that informal consultation were presented back to councils in July last year, including the Environment and Community Committee of Auckland Council. So since then, the Top of the North Collaborative Working Group have looked at the results, done some further analysis, and we are here and identified the preferred option for moving forward. So the preferred option moving forward is to proceed with the development of a formal proposal under the Biosecurity Act for an interregional pathway management plan that sets consistent rules between regions and that sets minimum whole fouling standards. So that's why we're here today. That's the middle box. If Auckland Council approves to proceed with the preferred approach, then Top of North partners will collaboratively develop that proposal, consult on the proposal, and then eventually, hopefully, approve the final plan. Throughout the process will follow the requirements under the Biosecurity Act, and there will be ongoing Mana Whenua and stakeholder engagement throughout that process. There's much more detail in the committee paper, which we hope you've had a chance to read, but we're happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Deputy Mayor?
Just because I'm aware of things like the fan wound which has been spread, and this was set up to have a combined effect, to have a combined approach, more a collaborative and multi-regional approach. To date, has it been successful?
So, just to clarify that question, what I heard, so are you asking about the spread of the fan worm?
Yeah, not just fan wound, but generally, has the approach been successful in reducing the incidence? Because these things, we don't see it happening. It's a danger.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to say that it is very difficult to manage marine pests once they're out there, and that's the key gap that we're seeing, that where we recommend the development of an interregional approach under the Biosecurity Act, because we don't have that seamless end-to-end. Yeah.
Member Wilcox.
Yeah, I've got a couple of questions. The first one is, if we go back to the last slide you showed, which had Mana Whenua engagement. So how does that go in an interregional situation?
For the interregional engagement.
So how does Mana Whenua engagement, how does council do that? I mean, we can manage our own, but how do the other councils manage theirs? And where does Mana Whenua engage with other Mana Whenua in this kind of collaboration?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. So I think we've to date, Sam, correct me if I'm wrong, we've been, each council has been responsible for their own Mana Whenua engagement. Certainly we've had a lot of engagement on this issue, both through the Regional Pest Management Plan development and also through the, our Marine Biosecurity Program. But it would certainly be open to us to look at, particularly where there are cross-boundary Mana Whenua, that we could have a more higher spatial scale overview of how we approach that engagement. And we're really open to taking direction from Mana Whenua about how they want to be engaged in this process.
Yeah, because it kind of, I'm kind of wary that that we've already done Sea Change, which basically is a totally new way of doing things, which was interregional in itself. And I suppose I was just reading the NRC biosecurity pathways in their latest annual plan or whatever they do, and there just didn't seem to be the type of Mana Whenua discussion that we had in ours. And I'm just trying to see where Mana Whenua here get the chance to talk to Mana Whenua there,
Yeah,
and how that's going to happen.
that's a really good question. We can certainly follow up on that. Yeah.
Member Karen Wilson.
Thank you. It's similar sort. I'm just looking at because it is marine, in terms of the pest management plan that's there, and what are the lessons learnt? We've got America's Cup arriving here. Some have already arrived here. So what's the baseline that we take in terms of what's happening currently? Would be my question. We have the notion of the ports potentially being moved, and then the specifics around locations. So as we talk pathway here, especially marine pest pathway management, there's, if I can describe it crudely, there's stuff happening now that no one's taking due cognizance of, and there's some technical specialists here now. So that's my first question. What's available now, specifically around America's Cup, is going to feed into this piece of work, and then the same sorts of questions that have already been posed. You know, we're on marine as opposed to land, and the landscape in terms of Mana Whenua shifts quite dramatically. There's not a barrier, there's not a boundary as such, so there would need to be some lessons learned. So my kōrero is all around lessons learned as it was in Sea Change of the day. It doesn't necessarily mean the same as on land, but the kōrero will be similar. So as long as there is a pathway to encourage all the lessons learnt part, then that's that But my query is, as you're about to answer, around what's happening now and how that may or may not feed into this piece of work.
Yeah, so I think this piece of work is really complementary to our existing biosecurity, marine biosecurity program, but we know that although colleagues Sam and others are working really hard to manage those existing risks, there are certainly some quite severe limitations to the regulatory framework that we have to play with. And so you're absolutely right with the America's Cup and other activities happening. There is a real urgency to get this work underway to have a more effective framework in place for those sorts of activities. And I think, again, you referred to, for instance, ports moving and that sort of thing, and that I think that, again, that highlights that advantage of having an interregional, really a much broader, holistic, same regulatory framework across a wider spatial area that will put us in a much better space than we can be in at the moment with our much greater reliance on a sort of a non-regulatory, voluntary kind of compliance regime.
Councillor Cooper.
It was just in terms of the mana whenua consultation. I was speaking to Member Wilcox's kōrero around that. If you're looking for consultation, we already have the Kaiparamoana Uri, who are a very combined group of Ngāti Whātua, etc., up there that we've been working on in the treaty settlement and Kaiparamoana work. So they'd be a good group, I think, to go to, because they already are together and they're combined for that area, and they work with the Northland Regional Council and the councils up there. So that's Tame, isn't it? Tame, yeah. Tame, yeah.
There are no other questions. Are there any speakers on this? Oh, that's fine. Cool. So we have, could I have a mover? Oh, do we already have a mover? No. No, a mover on this.
I'll move it.
Councillor Coombe, Councillor Cooper, second. All those in favour? Aye. Those opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.